We're live in a car on the way to Atlanta with Dr. Michael. Not the ideal situation here, and we know that, but I hope you guys are ready for Easter. We're on our way to Atlanta. We're going to see our niece play in a volleyball tournament. Hi, Donna. If you are on, make a comment, whether you're on YouTube or you're on Facebook. I'm excited for tonight. We have done, hi, Marissa. We have done a heart health workshop, but like in the office, and we've never done a webinar style. And so I love being able to have, Facebook's having an issue. Well, sorry, Facebook, I don't have time to figure that out. Oh, so good. Hi, Ken. So, I lost my train of thought. I'm just excited about doing a heart health workshop that's a webinar. So there's a lot of information that I'm going to cover tonight, and you can go back and rewatch this all the times that you need to. Hi, Hadley. And I just need to do a disclaimer because I am not a cardiologist. I did not go to school studying like the heart and all the things, but this is for educational purposes only. And I absolutely believe that if you are empowered and educated to understand your body, you can make the best decisions about what you do going forward, especially when it comes to your heart health. But I am not diagnosing anything. I am not telling you to be on or off any medications. I can't do that. That's not part of my scope of practice. But there are things that have been researched and studied that your cardiologists and doctors don't know or understand. And so I want you to be empowered to ask the questions and to really get details when it comes to your heart health. So let's dive in. Hey, Phil. Hi, Alexis. Happy Easter almost, everybody. Somebody told me, I don't remember who it was, and you might even be on, and if you are on, tell us, that they enjoy Easter food more than they do Thanksgiving food. And I was like, I don't know. I'm more of a Thanksgiving food all day long, but they're talking about how like Easter food's a little bit more fresher and like springer, and so they like that, and I totally get it. But let's go ahead and dive in. We are going to talk tonight about the 5 powerful ways that you can strengthen your heart. And if you don't already know, and you can't already even feel it and hear it in my voice, there is a big passion, a big mission to really inspire you to honor the wisdom of your body and live a life free of interference. Because disease only develops in the body when there's an interference. Like God created your body perfectly, and when there's an interference, it doesn't allow the body to work like it should. And so that's what we're going to go through today. And if you have questions, put them in the comments and I will answer them. My notes are on here, so I'll have to go back and forth. So if you write a comment, I promise I will go back to it if it's not right away when you write it. So let's talk about first how incredible your heart actually is. Do you know, like without your heart, you would not even survive? It's truly amazing what this organ can do, and it's pretty remarkable. It beats around 100,000 times a day. 100,000 times. And it's only the size of your fist. So make a fist in front of you and look at it, like as big as your heart is. And it's supplies blood to every organ, every cell in your body with oxygenated blood. It brings that blood to every space in your body. And now damage to this, though, can reduce its pumping power, and it can force it to work harder, trying to keep up with the demands that your body has. Now, heart disease. The number 1 cause of death in our country right now is heart disease. And you may have thought, if you didn't know, and if you didn't see that right there, if I asked you without even knowing before this workshop what the number 1 cause of death in the United States is, you might say things like cancer, diabetes, obesity, you might say car accidents, you might say suicide, you might say anything. But the answer is heart disease. It's the number 1 killer of both men and women in the United States. It outranks heart disease, or car accidents, stroke, it is heart disease. Do you know that the number one cause of death, what that actually means? Because sometimes it's like, some of you might know, my grandpa died of heart disease. So you might have somebody in your family that you know of that's died of heart disease, but that means that 1 out of 4 people every day die of heart disease. It kills 1 out of 4 people. Heart disease, what does heart disease even mean? And there's several types of heart conditions. One includes coronary artery disease. That is the most common type. Coronary artery disease occurs when the plaque builds up in your arteries and it reduces blood flow to your heart. Heart failure, irregular heartbeat, heart valve problems, those are all types of heart disease. Now, the first step in making sure that this is not you is we have to prevent you from becoming part of that statistic. So you have to live a heart healthy lifestyle, and that's what we're going to go through today. But before we really get into the nitty gritty, because we're going to talk about cholesterol and we're going to talk about heart disease. Do you know the history though of heart disease in the 20th century? So we live in the 21st century right now. Heart disease was not a common cause of death in the United States. It was by the 1960s that heart disease started to roll around and become more and more prevalent in the world. Heart disease peaked at the similar levels in the 1960s as they are now, and it continues to get worse and worse and worse. So here, do you know what changed? Some of you might know. What changed the most in the 1960s and what was this sudden increase of heart disease in our body lives? Our lifestyle changed. Fast food became a regular dietary staple. It is what we eat. Stress is increasing more now than it's ever been, and we were exposed to more toxins than we've ever been exposed to. It's not really bright. If we don't change something, the future of heart disease is not looking good. It's going to get worse and worse and worse. The American Heart Association has estimated that by 2030, it is 2024, that about 40.5% of the United States of the United States will have some kind of cardiovascular disease. It's also estimated that in just 6 years, the medical costs will have tripled, totaling from $272.5 billion to $818 billion. So when we think about this is a big deal. This isn't something that we can just wash over, because I know even sometimes numbers, we don't quite comprehend $818 billion, but we can definitely say that's a lot. And there's a lot more that we can do with that money than just putting it into drugs and medications and medical things. We've got to really change the way that we are looking at our health. But sometimes it's tough because it's you learn one thing, what cholesterol is or what you think it is. Nobody's ever sat you through a class like this to tell you what cholesterol is. We're just taught that cholesterol is bad. So let's actually go through what is cholesterol. It's probably one of the most confusing topics for people is cholesterol. It's often portrayed as really bad for your health. And the reality, though, is it is absolutely essential for good health. Cholesterol is. It's one of the most important molecules in your body, and it serves a lot of functions that are necessary for our bodies to work and function like they should. But we'll talk about what those are in just a minute, but cholesterol, it's this waxy substance that's found in your blood, but it's also needed to build healthy cells. And you may have seen it in the office. Dr. Erin wrote on the board and she said, do you know where cholesterol is made? And I asked our whole team and I said, do you know where cholesterol is made? And Dr. Erin and Taylor knew, but then it was everybody else is I don't really know exactly what it is. And it's made in your liver. So cholesterol is produced in your liver. Cholesterol itself is a lipid. So lipids are fatty substances, and your body uses lipids for energy. It's a source of energy. But when we're testing it, you may know that like you have a test and you get a blood test and it says your total cholesterol, but then they're also categorized into things like triglycerides, HDL, high density lipoprotein, LDL, low density lipoprotein, or VLDL, which is very low density protein. And we're going to go through those on the next slide. But let's talk about why having good cholesterol levels in your body is critical to the health of your body. Number one, cholesterol is a critical structural element in certain tissues. So your brain and your nervous system, 25% of the cholesterol in your body is found just in your brain. So a quarter of it is found in your brain. So if you have higher cholesterol levels, they've done research and they found that you have better cognitive function, especially those that are elderly, when you have good cholesterol levels and the correct cholesterol levels, as opposed to lower cholesterol levels. That's number one. Your brain, your nervous system, it actually makes up tissue. Number two, cholesterol, it's a transport molecule. So it shuttles fat soluble nutrients into cells. So vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin K need cholesterol in order to be shuttled into your cells. If there's no cholesterol, they won't go into the cells, and you'll just be taking or eating vitamins that don't get absorbed or utilized in your body without cholesterol. Number three, cholesterol is a building block for hormones: progesterone, estrogen, testosterone, cortisol, vitamin D, building block for every one of those hormones. And number four, cholesterol is used by the body to make up bile acids to digest fats. And we're going to talk about this when we talk about like how do you address things. And like so often it's like just take a medication, but it's like, is your liver backed up? Do you have a gallbladder? Is your bile working like it should? Because if it's not, then you might have a problem with your cholesterol. Like that's, you look at the liver, you look at the bile to see if that's why your cholesterol is not where it needs to be. So let me tell you about just a few things when it comes to cholesterol, because your brain right now is telling you, or what you've learned is that cholesterol is bad. Well, there's this heart study. It's called the Framingham Heart Study, and they showed that people with a cholesterol lower than 200 suffer from 40% of heart attacks. Clearly, there's more problem than just simply lowering your cholesterol. And if you think about it, and if you actually know, like many people who have had heart attacks are on cholesterol lowering medications. So what's the ideal level for cholesterol? Some of you might be super surprised, but it's 180 to 300. So if you have a cholesterol level at 200, you're totally fine. Research shows that people that have cholesterol lower than 180 are 3 times more likely to have a stroke. So what's the big deal? So it has to do more with the ratios of the LDLs and the HDLs and the triglycerides, which we're going to walk through, and I'm going to tell you what they are. But here's some of the things that cause cholesterol to not be where it needs to be. And the ratios: diet, exercise, chronic stress, insulin resistance. You might not be sleeping well. You might have sleep apnea. There could be a gut infection with H. pylori. You could have thyroid issues. That's like some of the biggest areas. You could have a food sensitivity. You could have a lack of sun, sluggish liver, or your bile flow, or you smoke, or you drink a lot. Those are other causes. Instead of just being like, let's put you on a statin medication and not look at the cause, or not test the right things, or maybe test your thyroid, or test your vitamin D levels, or test your liver, like that's not the answer. We have to look at what is causing the problem. So let's talk about HDL, LDL, VLDL. I'm just checking to see if there's any questions. Okay, no. Let's talk about HDL first. You ready for the HDL? HDL, also known as high density lipoprotein. HDL has a high cholesterol to protein ratio. It's actually made, HDL itself is made up of like 45 to 50% protein. But what happens, its primary role is to sweep up LDL particles and take them to the liver for recycling. So it is important that LDL, that's known as like your bad cholesterol, HDL is like your good cholesterol, but it's important that the LDL be cleared from the blood efficiently because of its high susceptibility to what's called oxidation. Oxidation is like when you take an apple and you bite it and then it turns brown. Like the same thing can happen to cholesterol. It can oxidize, it can become brown. And when that happens, that is the biggest problem. We don't want anything oxidizing inside of our bodies. That's what antioxidants are for. I am sweating. We got to turn down the air here. Perfect. So if LDL remains in the blood longer, then it causes inflammation and it increases your risk for heart disease. So what's the ideal range for HDL? 55 to 80. Now, if it goes above 100, that could indicate that there's chronic inflammation or there's an active infection inside of your body. It doesn't mean that we just need to be put on a medication right away. It means like, is there something that's causing a lot of inflammation? Is there an infection? Let's check that first before we just take your cholesterol levels and just put them down. Oh, let me change there we go. Sorry. So then let's go to LDL. LDL is called your low density lipoprotein. Now, this is known as like the bad number. But the reason that LDL exists, it transports mostly cholesterol. So its primary role is to transport fat-soluble nutrients into the cell membrane so that they can be used. One of the biggest things is it takes and delivers saturated fat to the cell membrane. So if you don't, your membranes are made up of fat. It's a phospholipid bilayer made up of fat. So we need LDL. It's like, it's not a bad thing. But even though it's considered bad, it's more complex than that. There's different types of LDL particles depending on their size. So there are LDLs that are pattern A and pattern B. It depends on their size. That particle size will determine whether or not LDL will contribute to heart disease or be more protective. But guess what they don't test you for? They don't test the particle size unless you actually know to ask, can we test the particle size of the LDL to know what's happening and not just lump them all into one category. But LDLs can be elevated in people with low thyroid activity as well. So if it's elevated, are they going to check your thyroid or not? Because here's what happens. T3 sensitizes the LDL receptor on the cell membrane. So a lower active T3 will cause your body an inability to actually activate and get those LDL protocols, so they won't dock on top of each other. It's very similar to those that like have insulin resistance. Like if you have insulin resistance, you have insulin here and you have sugar here, but becomes so sensitive and resistant that it doesn't actually, you want them to be sensitive, it becomes resistant and it doesn't actually connect together. Ideal range for LDL, 100 to 200. VLDL, very low density lipoprotein. Now, VLDL carries triglycerides to your tissues. So VLDL is similar to LDL, but LDL carries mostly cholesterol instead of triglycerides. Now, the triglycerides make VLDL denser than LDL. But once VLDL is released, enzymes in the bloodstream interact with the triglycerides and change it from VLDL to LDL. See how this can get so complicated? But this is why you can read and listen to this a bunch of times or talk to me about it and I can walk you through it. But ideal range for your VLDLs is 5 to 30. Now don't shut your brain off because there's a lot of like LDLs and VLDLs and all that stuff. You don't need to like memorize these things. There's things called triglycerides. Last part. Then we're going to talk about these ratios and how you can go back to your blood work and make sure that the ratios are where they need to be. So let's talk about triglycerides. Triglycerides are a type of fat. found in your blood, but it helps support your body with energy. Now, these are necessary for health, but they can contribute to heart disease and stroke when they're elevated too high. So the optimal range for triglycerides is between 40 and 80. So what happens is lipoproteins, they transport triglycerides to your cell membrane. There, they're broken down into fatty acids and then metabolized into what's called ATP, which is energy. Cells use ATP for energy. But triglycerides will be high in individuals with high insulin levels, because insulin resistance is also seen in fatty liver disease, which can be why triglycerides are super, super high. Fatty liver disease is a big contributing factor. Triglycerides are a big contributing factor to fatty liver disease. So here's your ratios. LDL to HDL. The ratio needs to be between 3 to 1 or less. 2 to 1 is optimal. So remember how I said you have your total cholesterol. I said 180 to 300. Super great, awesome. In between that time, not a big deal. But the ratios are the problem. LDL to HDL, 3 to 1 or less. Then you want to look at your triglyceride to HDL levels. The ratio for that should be 2 to 1 or less. 1 to 1 is optimal. Higher triglyceride and lower HDL levels are typically an indication of insulin resistance and high fasting insulin levels. Like, they coincide with each other. So look at what your ratios are. That is the important part. Now let's move on to high blood pressure. High blood pressure, when you think about that, what is happening is increased force of blood moving through your arteries from your heart. When that happens, it pushes against the walls of your arteries, and over time, this causes a lot of problems. So every time your heart beats, it pumps blood out, and the rate at which that does, that is called your blood pressure. Now, it's natural to have higher blood pressure. Like, I might have higher blood pressure right now. Every time I do a workshop, a webinar, a talk, like I get higher blood pressure because it's like a time that you're stressed, or when you're exercising. Like, those are times when your blood pressure can increase because it's increasing the flow of your blood through your whole body, getting oxygen to your organs and vessels through your vessels. But the problem is when chronically high blood pressure, when it's constantly doing that, it wears down your arteries and raises your risk for things like coronary heart disease, stroke, heart attack, diabetes, or even kidney damage. Now, high blood pressure, it's considered abnormal anything above the level of 120 over 80. Now, this can be caused by a whole bunch of things, okay? Low nutrient intake, so your diet, a poor diet that's high in sodium, like unhealthy sodium, obesity, being overweight, smoking, not moving, a sedentary lifestyle, high amounts of stress all the time, other medical conditions that are also contributing to it. And there could be a very small percentage has anything to do with your family history. Now, high blood pressure is another factor of what can contribute to heart disease. It has very few warning signs. Some people don't even realize that they have it. Things like blood spot on your eyes, facial flushing, dizziness, fatigue, confusion, chest, irregular heartbeat, vision issues, pounding in your chest, your neck, or your ears, blood in your urine. Those can all be signs of high blood pressure. But I'm going to let you know, 95% of all cases of high blood pressure are completely preventable and reversible. 95%. So when it comes to this right here, absolutely preventable in our bodies. So what's the solution? Heart disease is so bad. It's killing everybody. Like, it's the number one disease. Cholesterol levels are higher than they've ever been. Blood pressure levels are higher. Is there a way to prevent heart disease and heart issues? And the answer is yes. We're going to walk through 5 powerful ways. But are these all the things that can help? And are they the only things? No. But they're a great place to start, and they will have the greatest impact. Because here's the thing, the body has certain needs and requirements that are natural that they have to meet. And that's the only way that we can create harmony. We can create homeostasis inside of our body and peace inside of our bodies. That is what health is when all of that is in peace and harmony and homeostasis. But when there's dangerous levels of interference, toxicity, deficiency, and it's not meeting its proper requirements, your body goes into this state of disease. It's disharmony. It's not working like it should, decreased function. So when we go through these 5 things, that is why, and they're not all the 5 essentials, but there's definitely part of them. But the 5 essentials, my ear is popping. Core chiropractic, nutrition, mindset, oxygen and exercise, and minimizing toxins. Those right there promote health and quality and life inside of your bodies. So a lot of these are going to be in a portion of the 5 essentials that some of you already know. My ears are popping, everybody. So let's start with heart healthy nutrition. Oh, we just hit a bump. Okay, now there's been a lot of misinformation over the past decades regarding heart disease, and a lot of it is getting placed on saturated fat and cholesterol. So we know that when it comes to any disease process in the body, there's an aspect of inflammation that we have to address. Chronic inflammation is not the cause of disease, but it's an identifying factor. We have to figure out what's causing all the inflammation inside of our bodies. So, certain nutritional things, they definitely play a large role in heart disease. And we have to eat in a way that's anti-inflammatory. That is one of the best ways to mitigate heart disease. You might be like, well, what can I take? And what if I exercise and I do all the other things besides change my diet? The answer is no, you have to start here first. This is why this is number 1, even though it's not the first essential. It is the biggest thing when it comes to heart disease. So the best diet to address any type of interference within your body is an anti-inflammatory healing diet. What does this conclude of? Let's take a look. There's 3 things and 3 steps to an anti-inflammatory diet. Number 1, reduce sugars and grains. This is the very first step. Eating whole, unprocessed foods. You have to remove any refined sugars and grains because they increase your blood glucose levels, they operate inflammation, and they create acidity in your tissues that are unnecessary. So instead, you want to add a variety of like low carb, low glycemic fruits and vegetables to your diets. There are so many powerful nutrients that will improve
Watch out, object on road ahead.
There's an object on the road. It will rid your body of excess weight. It'll improve your energy levels. And when you have these, it'll help your whole body work like it should. Number 2, the second step, eating more healthy fats. Remove the harmful inflammatory fats. We're going to focus mainly on this one today. The third step, choosing your meat correctly. What that looks like is like you have to understand the meat. There's a bioaccumulation of toxins, and meat is on the top of the food chain, as opposed to like vegetables. They're like more on the food chain. So what these animals eat that you're eating, you have to know what that is. It can't just be any kind of meat. Even if you're eating carnivore, you still need to make sure like you are eating the proper meat. So that looks like grass-fed, pasture-raised, wild-caught, rather than the grain-fed, the farmed, the conventionally raised like meats and fish. Like, even though they look very similar, it's what they're made of. And you have to be able to protect your body from toxins that are inside of especially animal meat. But to protect your heart from inflammation and heart disease, you have to incorporate these 3 things into your life. Eating real foods, avoiding sugar, avoiding processed foods, eating healing, healthy fats, rather than all the other things. Now, one of the things that I want your brain to understand is that the cholesterol that we consume in our diet doesn't actually impact our blood cholesterol levels. So don't even worry. You need to worry about getting rid of the sugars, the high carbohydrate, unnecessary refined foods, any chemicals and toxins. You want to get rid of all of those things. And we want to focus right now on increasing our healthy fats. Let's go back. But what about low fat? I thought like fat was the problem and fat was the cause. No, the 1960s and the 1980s, they coined this low fat term trend that it was like the heart healthy option. Butter was replaced with margarine, and it seemed that everywhere that you go, and even still to this day, it's like light or low fat version of every single food that exists. But here's the thing. They blamed that as the reason for heart disease. But guess what? Fat's actually not the enemy. It's the type of fat. So we can't be eating inflammatory fake fat. We need the good healthy fat. And some of the most heart healthy fats and foods are your omega-3 fatty acids. We have to understand and know this, and we have to change our mindset that fat is not the enemy. It's the type of fat. So omega-3 fatty acids, they are the heart superfood. They did a study, look at that, consuming fish, and it needs to be wild-caught fish, twice per week can result in a 36% reduction of coronary artery disease. That's incredible. And now the most common types of these omega-3s are your DHA, EPA, ALA, but regularly consuming omega-3 have shown a significant reduced risk of cardiovascular disease. Now, these healthy fats, they themselves combat inflammation and they maintain healthy cholesterol levels. And they do studies, and have even found that the higher fat diet is associated with a significant increase in LDL particle size, like the good healthy kind that decrease your risk for heart disease. And they also saw a significant decrease in the portion of the small LDL particles. This can occur in as little as 3 days of eating a high fat, low carb diet. HDL cholesterol can also significantly increase with the high fat, low carb diet. This is big deal, guys. This is something we absolutely need to be intentional and focused on. So what foods are they that really help us? Coconut oil. And I know despite there's been years and you can find a study on all the things, but we do know that certain fats are healthy, and coconut oil is one of the best heart healthy fats. They've done studies, coconut oil, cardioprotective, heart protective through many, many mechanisms. And one of the biggest things is because it's a small to medium chain saturated fat. And what that means is it can actually permeate your cell membranes, provide energy. It helps carry things across, like carrier proteins and special enzymes. It's a good source of like readily available energy that your body can use. It has immune boosting effects, antiviral, antimicrobial, antibacterial. It can help because it has lauric acid in it. It can balance blood sugar levels and cholesterol levels. It's also one of the most stable of all fatty acids due to the amount of saturated fats. It's 92% fat saturated fats, but good, healthy saturated fats. When you are coconut oil itself also helps lower high triglycerides, providing your body with all those heart healthy benefits. Now, when you're getting coconut oil, you want to make sure that it's organic, it's unrefined coconut oil. You can reap all the good benefits of it. And it's great for cooking. It has a higher point than a lot of other oils. And so so we talk about that word, we don't want oil remains stable so that it doesn't lose those antioxidant properties when you cook it. I didn't say margarine. You need to make sure that grass-fed butter, nutritious. It's a healthy fat. It has so many healing properties in it. It's also a short and medium chain triglyceride, which supports your immune system. It also can help boost your metabolism. But inside of it, there's also called conjugated linoleic acid called CLA. And when that happens, like that helps your body actually burn fat. So like healthy fat helps your body burn fat. It also has butyrate in it, and that's an anti-inflammatory compound that affects your whole entire body. It also can help your digestive health. Grass-fed butter also has a rich source of vitamin A, good for your thyroid, adrenal glands, heart health, good source of also vitamin D and K2. And that K2 itself, just itself, can reverse arterial calcification. So making sure that you get that inside of there too. I'm only going to cover a few more. I'm not going to go through every single one of them, but avocados. And I put av oil because I didn't want it would look weird if it like went down. So it's avocado and avocado oil. This is a superfood for your heart. There's done so many studies when it comes to this. Avocados have so much antioxidant phytochemicals inside of it. It contains glutathione. We talk about that. That's the body's most powerful antioxidant, and it's critical to help lower inflammation inside of your body. Wild caught fish, especially salmon, wild caught salmon, they contain the most omega-3 fatty acids of EPA and DHA, known to reduce risk for heart disease. And when you're consuming fish, like just fish itself, not even just the salmon, but fish has lowered your risk of not only heart disease, but also subsequent heart attacks, if there was one, lowers your risk of death, stroke, abnormal heart rhythms, especially in people that have already had a heart attack. The oils in wild caught fish, they help prevent and treat atherosclerosis, which is the hardening of arteries, by slowing down the development of plaque and blood clots, which can clog your arteries. So like incredible stuff. The last one that I want to talk about are the olives and the olive oil. When you consume olive and olive oils, they have fiber, vitamin E, copper, calcium. There's so many healthy fats in olives and olive oil. They're not my favorite thing. I was just talking about somebody, I might try them again to see if I like them. I keep trying sometimes, or they just accidentally get in food. Not my favorite things, but we do love olive oil. We don't heat the olive oil. We eat that naturally, like in dressings. But they also shown benefits of like reducing atherosclerosis and cardiovascular disease. It's one of the healthiest forms of, like extra virgin olive oil is one of the healthiest forms of olive oil, and it has the richest flavor. You just don't really want to heat it. You want to keep it in its most natural form. But you can see other things on there, right? You can see raw nuts and seeds, chia seeds, flax seeds, pasture-raised egg, grass-fed meats. There's so many good healthy fats inside of there. Now, I want to talk about testing for a minute, because I'm talking about these healthy fats, and there's like your omega-3s, omega-6, omega-9, and we need all of those in order for our heart to be working like it should. Now, there are tests, and there's even some tests that we do inside of our office. It's called Max Metabolics, and what it does is it's not specifically to heart disease, but there's a section and a portion of it on omega-3s, omega-6, omega-9s, and there's even a genetic portion that can be added on called ApoE that you want to know if you have that gene, that would be how you would know if there was a portion of it, of your health and life that was connected to heart disease from a genetic standpoint. But what metabolics tests for is vitamin and mineral deficiencies. You can see it right there, blood sugar imbalances. One of the biggest things is the fatty acid imbalance that you see on number 8. That right there, like who's a good candidate for this entire test anyways? It's anybody from the age of 2 above can complete this metabolic testing. So here's an example of what it looks like. You can see patient 1, you can see patient 2. You can see on there, it's a omega-3, omega-6, trans cardiovascular disease, checks omega-9, saturated fats. Are they high? Are they low? This is usually food-based, but checking to see, like, are your fatty acids balanced? Like, are they in the proper ratios? Do you have enough of what you need to? If not, do you need to take a supplement? Do you need to increase an intake of a certain food? You can see at the top, cold water fish, flax, walnut. There's specific things that you can eat and know for sure. I love the terminology of like test, don't guess. And this is a big portion of it, is like testing first. There's also an aspect to this test where it's like, do you break down fatty acids like you should? Is it going through the entire cycle or is it not? We want to know if your body's breaking down these healthy fats like they should, so you can get the full on benefit. And it also tests like carbs and proteins. And are you breaking those down? Is it going through the citric acid cycle, creating the ATP? Are your membranes broken down? In this lower half, these two right here, it's going to check to see like are membranes good. Like a healthy rubber band is what you want all of your cell membranes to be like, but is it like a brittle rubber band? Do we need to get antioxidants in there to allow your body to work and function like it should? So this gets more specific to then not just all of these, the 5 things, but it's like specifically, what do I need to do for me? Do I have this? Do I have that? All of it's good, but it's like being very, very specific. And then this is an example of getting a genetic test to know, is there a gene in your body, especially if you have a family history of heart disease and heart problems? Do you need to see if you have the gene? Now, here's the thing. Genes can be changed. Genes are in your body. There's a thing, it's called your genes are the bullet in the gun, but your lifestyle is the trigger. So if you change your lifestyle, then the genes don't become expressed as likely. So that's an example of a test. And if you want to do that test, you just reach out to me and we'll do it. I want to talk about supplements for a second. People always ask me, and like, what are your best heart health supplements and what things should I or could I be taking? There's a whole bunch of them here. Everybody's a little bit different, but I'll tell you like a little bit about each one. So then that way you can know if that's just the one that you should take or not take. It's better to test than to guess, but CoQ10. CoQ10 is known to actually rejuvenate an aging heart, to balance your blood pressure and your cholesterol. When I was looking up even more about what CoQ10 is, I'm like, everyone needs to be taking CoQ10. But what it does is it can affect any type of that LDL cholesterol that's not where it needs to be. It can help reduce that. And it's most likely because CoQ10 is an antioxidant. Because of its antioxidant effects, it can help bring LDL back into its normal range. CoQ10 also, if taken within 3 days after suffering a heart attack and continuing it daily, it can avoid subsequent heart attacks and reduce chest pain. Incredible. The University of Maryland Medical Center, though, has done research, and there are some drugs that deplete CoQ10. So you should be on CoQ10 for certain if you're on any type of tricyclic antidepressant, amitriptyline, I can't ever say these words, but clomipramine or protriptyline, they reduce the effects of CoQ10. Any type of anti-diabetic medication where sulfonylurea drugs are the most important to note, so chloropropamide or tolizimide. Any type of cardiovascular medication. That is a big reason why I have this on there. Any type of cholesterol lowering drug, any type of statin medication blocks CoQ. Anytime there are any psychotherapeutic medication or different thiazide diuretics, they also deplete CoQ10 inside of your body. Now, curcumin plus, this is turmeric. Turmeric is known to be an anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, anti-thrombotic, and antimicrobial supplement. It is incredible. And in the fight against any type of inflammation, if you know there's inflammation inside of your body, we've got to first get to the cause. But turmeric, curcumin, it is what you need to do to that and bring inflammation down into your body. Now, I talked about the liver. It's where cholesterol is made. Some of you, if you're watching and you have high cholesterol, and we've talked about it, the very first thing I say is we've got to clean out your liver. Your liver creates the cholesterol for hormone production, tissue healing, all of that. And so make sure that your liver is cleaned out, because it also not only does that, but toxins flow through there. It digests food through there. So being able to make sure that the liver removes the cholesterol from your body by converting it into bile salts and making sure that it's doing exactly what it needs to do, that you don't have a sluggish liver. You want to do Liver Life from BioRay. We have this in our office, and I don't have I'm going to put in a few links inside of here, so then that way you guys have it. The other one is GI Replace. The reason I put GI Replace in there is because you have to have good bile flow in order to regulate your cholesterol levels. So if your bile is not flowing like it should, then we need some help. And if you don't have a gallbladder, then you are absolutely in this category of needing to support your gallbladder and your liver for also helping your cholesterol levels. So GI Replace has ox bile in it, and it also has digestive enzymes. So there's a point where it's like your body needs some help digesting things and breaking things down so that the levels can come back to normal. Now, NOx support. This is called nitric oxide. And so nitric oxide, your body already produces it. One of the biggest things it's responsible for is relaxing muscles, which allows your blood vessels to open up and widen. So as a result, nitric oxide helps to increase blood flow and reduce blood pressure. So by having and taking nitric oxide, it helps your body to do that. Now, it's not just nitric oxide inside of there. What also helps increase nitric oxide production is vitamin C, magnesium, and L-arginine. Those are also inside of there. So it's not only giving it to you, but it's helping your body with the building blocks to do it on its own. Now, the last one is the blood pressure support. Supplement is like if your blood pressure is high and you need support right now because you don't want to be like on a blood pressure medication and your doctor says it's okay to try something natural, this is what you want to do. Inside of it is bonito peptide powder. This is from dried fish. So it's been used throughout history and specifically in Japan for its benefits on your heart health. They did a study of elderly individuals in Japan and found that supplementing with just bonito peptide powder for 1 month had a significant decrease in lowering the effects of blood pressure by having bonito powder to water. So there's also grapeseed extract in here, which is antioxidant rich. It's found in the seed of grapes. And they've done a lot of research as well that helps lower blood pressure from grapeseed extract. So those are some supplements that you can look into or some things like to look at. Now, intermittent fasting. Somebody just sent me, if you're watching, a study that said like intermittent fasting causes more issues and problems. And I'm going to say, no, that's not true. Not at all. And usually what happens with those studies is that they're not doing it the right way. So intermittent fasting, if you starve yourself, that can absolutely be like a stress response to your body and cause issues and problems. But when you do it the right way, intermittent fasting is not starving your body. It is eating the whole amount of food that you would eat in a normal day, just at a certain time. But they've done research, like the research that I have seen over and over and over and over again. It's a fantastic strategy, especially for improving your cholesterol levels. So it's not only going to help your digestive system heal, your immune system heal, your cells heal, your genes repair, heal, improve your insulin levels, reduce your risk of other diseases, but it can absolutely help your heart. So here's what I suggest. Start with a simple fast, 12 hours for 1 to 2 weeks, and see how your body responds. That's a short fast. Like it's basically dinner until breakfast the next day, 12 hours. You can increase your fasting time as your body adapts and not eating at certain times of the day. But for best strategies on how to do intermittent fasting, when you're done with this or tomorrow or sometime in the week, go watch my intermittent fasting webinar because it'll tell you exactly how to do this. Because I already told you, like there is a direct connection even to like insulin levels and heart health and your whole body itself as a whole. But to decrease your cholesterol levels, intermittent fasting and timing your food is the way to go. Exercise is another essential to optimal heart health. The opposite is a sedentary lifestyle. It is associated when you are not moving, poor lipid profiles. That means spending too much time in sedentary behaviors such as sitting, watching TV, on your computer has a lot of negative health outcomes, but specifically for your cholesterol and lipid ratios. Over the long term, a lack of exercise then leads to obesity, which then can significantly boost your cholesterol levels, your triglyceride levels. Obesity can elevate all of the small, dense LDL protocols in your bloodstream. So we want to do the opposite. So exercise is essential for your heart health. Your heart is a muscle. And they did a study right here. One study found that you could reduce your cardiovascular disease by 48 to 57%. So regular exercise benefits improve your cholesterol levels, and it doesn't have to be crazy. Moderate intensity aerobic exercise, resistance training, high intensity interval training, all of that helps your HDL, your LDL, and your triglycerides. But in order to exercise the most effectively, you have to find what you love. This helps you to actually do it. Here's the aim. Exercising 20 to 30 minutes a day for 5 days a week. Encouraging you to use things like strength training helps support your sex hormones 2 to 4 days a week. You could do upper body 1 to 2 days, body 1 to 2 days. But the biggest thing is you have to move. Like, this is not an exception at all. Your body has to move and exercise. Stress, sleep, and the sun. I know that that's like more than like 5 things that I'm giving you, and I put 3 in 1, but let's talk through it, okay? Stress. Stress increases your blood pressure. If your blood pressure increases over time, it is equal to heart disease. Now, your body produces a surge of hormones when you are in stressful situations. Your level of stress can impact your blood pressure, also your cholesterol levels. Cortisol, adrenaline, this is the fight or flight mechanism that your body starts to adapt because it's trying to protect itself. And these hormones that are constantly being stimulated increase other things, just cortisol levels, but your cholesterol levels. And when you're higher stress, it also leads to things like not eating a healthy diet, exercising less, your body weight's usually higher. So it's important to take steps every single day, daily, to reduce the stress in your life. For some of you, you really do need to look at your schedule.
In 4.5 miles, continue on
You need to simplify your schedule. Review your calendar. Review your to-do list. You might be doing too much. I need to do that too. Breathing is a big one. Breathe to relax. Make a conscious effort to deepen and slow down your breathing. Exercising is also such a great thing to do when you're stressed. Physical activity itself is a natural stress buster. The other thing, though, is there's things called perceived stress. So there's even stress that you might even wake up in the morning and your body's already stressed because you're perceiving exactly what's going to happen in that day. You might need to shift your perspective. Resist the tendency to complain. Acknowledge your feelings about a situation and then focus on finding solutions. It's important to do these things daily. Daily, daily, daily. Some other things that you can do are things like grounding, going barefoot on the grass, especially since it's nicer outside and it's not like freezing or covered in snow or so wet all the time. Deep breathing exercises, getting out in the sun, Epsom salt baths, dry brushing. Some of you might even need to take some adaptogenic herbs like ashwagandha or rhodiola, like those types of things to help your body respond to stress better. Now you've got to sleep. You've got to sleep. They did research and studies, and they found that if you have to be in bed by 10 p.m. every night. Every hour before 12 midnight is equivalent to 3 hours of regenerative capacity as opposed to after midnight. And you must get good, deep sleep. And if you don't know if you're getting deep sleep, track it. Get an Oura ring. It's O-U-R-A. Get a Whoop. If you're not getting enough deep sleep or REM sleep, there could be a possibility that your body has sleep apnea. And there's been studies that show that those that have poor sleep, it's associated with abnormal lipid levels, especially in women. For men, if you're sleeping over 8 hours a night, it's associated with lower risk of high LDL cholesterol levels. Now, apnea is linked to unhealthy lipid levels. And if you don't know what sleep apnea is, it's a pretty serious condition, and it's where you stop breathing. And you start and stop during sleep. It can be obstructive. So that's the most common. With obstructive sleep apnea, breathing stops because your throat muscles relax, your tongue falls into the airway, and it starts to narrow as you sleep. And there's a huge association to when it's obstructive sleep apnea and cholesterol levels, lower HDL levels, higher LDL levels. So a negative impact on sleep can affect your heart health, increase your risk of cardiovascular disease. So practicing good sleep habits, address it if you have sleep apnea, like good sleep, good diet, all of that comes together. It all wraps around exactly where you do. It might look like you might need to lose some weight. Some of the things with obstructive sleep apnea is increased weight gain. Getting regular exercise can also help you sleep better at night because you're tired. Boosting your omega-3 intake, imagine that. Optimizing your vitamin D levels and your magnesium levels. Performing strengthening exercises with your mouth, your throat, your breathing. I do mouth taping, and it helps to increase my nose breathing instead of mouth breathing. Change your sleep position if you need to. I know we tell you to sleep on your back, but you might need to sleep on your side. Start on your back with your rolls, then switch to your side, and that can help your body be able to sleep. Last thing on this part, sun. So this is an incredible thing that I was like, oh my gosh, like I knew for a long time, like cholesterol levels and vitamin D, they matter. But one of the biggest reasons that you perhaps have a low vitamin D level and you have high cholesterol is because you're not getting out in the sun. Sunlight deficiency can increase your blood cholesterol levels by not allowing this whole synthesis that you see right here to happen. Both vitamin D and cholesterol are derived from what's called squalene. And with sun exposure, squalene is converted into this right here, this 7-dehydro, you can see it, the word cholesterol is right in there, and vitamin D. So it makes all of this right here. So in the absence of sunlight, though, squalene is diverted into the formation of LDL cholesterol. So it goes into the bad cholesterol if it's not converted into it. So the sun activates cholesterol to form vitamin D. So, sorry, there was a truck and sometimes they freak me out. This is a big deal. So here's what you do. If 60% of your body is exposed to the sun, that is ideal. It is ideal to get about 10 to 20,000 IUs of vitamin D3 from sun exposure. So 60% of your body exposed to the sun. If you have light skin, it's about 15 to 20 minutes a day. If you have medium colored skin, be 25 to 30 minutes daily. If you have dark skin, 40 to 45 minutes daily. So intentionally getting out into the sun and making sure that you are getting that going. It can reduce your cholesterol levels and increase your vitamin D levels at the same exact time. We don't need to always supplement and do all of that. We can actually change it with our lifestyle. Number 5, the biggest thing when it comes to your heart health is your chiropractic care. Your nervous system controls every single thing in your entire, every single thing, from every organ, every tissue, everything. And so if it's not communicating properly, things like AFib, it has its own electrical system. And if it's not connected to your main electrical system, there can be a big problem and a big malfunction. If you guys want another resource to learn more about this, that book that you see right here, The Paleo Cardiologist, get that book. He was a traditional cardiologist, and he met a chiropractor and married her and had to change everything. And when he did, because she could explain it and it made sense to him. And he went from a conventional cardiologist to a holistic cardiologist, and he will not see any patients in his practice that they have to be under chiropractic care. If they're not under chiropractic care, he will not see them, because this is the results that he saw on the right hand side by adjusting C1 Atlas. Blood pressure was lowered by 6 points. Chiropractic care also improves lung function in the heart and the lungs. The lungs are what oxygenate the blood to get it to the rest of your body. He also saw that it improved automatic functions in the body. Your heart is automatic, your lungs are automatic, your digestive system's automatic. All the things that you don't have to think about doing is the automatic functions. It increases your heart rate variability. Some of you that start to measure you have an aura ring or you have a Whoop, you can test to see your heart rate variability will most likely go up the days that you're getting adjusted. It also lowers inflammation just by getting adjusted patients. And so it matters that you're getting adjusted. And some of you might be like, well, I don't really have any heart issues. Well, you don't have to have just heart issues to get adjusted. There's warning signs your body can give you, like headaches, back pain, neck pain, sciatica, dizziness, allergies, asthma, sleep issues, because everything is ran and connected by your nervous system. So if you haven't made an appointment, your spine checked or looked at, you absolutely want to do that. And in our office, you can call the office 615-927-4571, and we can absolutely get you set up with an appointment. Or if you don't live here and you're in another state, let us know and we can see if there's an office that's close to you to get you connected, to allow, literally get you connected back to your body and get your spine assessed. Now, what are the action steps from this? I don't want you to take all of them and do them. Like when you think about all 5 things plus the bonus 2, so it's really 7 things that I gave you today. Like you can't do 7 things and switch them all at one time. Take one thing. If it's the nutrition piece, don't even worry about the exercise piece and all of that. Like if you're good at that, do that. But what's the one thing that you need to work on? Maybe you do so good at the nutrition, but you're not moving. You're not. Maybe you haven't even thought about to get out into the sun, you're stressed out beyond belief. Pick the one thing that you know. And honestly, if you don't know where to start, I want you to just literally close your eyes and just ask God to be what is the thing that I need to change and that I need to do? And he will tell you. He is faithful to do that. If you feel like you've tried all the things, go back and just be what is it that I can get better at? What is it that I can continue to accomplish? Upcoming opportunities. We've got Spring into Health. We got Friends and Family Week coming up April 8th through the 12th. So if you have any friends or family that haven't been checked yet, April 8th through the 12th is the time. It's discounted down. It's $68 for their initial consultation, exam, x-rays, and 100% of that is getting donated to People Loving Nashville. And then the next workshop is in our office. It's Chemical Combat Workshop. We are going after toxins. Toxins is also one of be a thing, but I was I'm not going to talk about that today. We're going to save that for the workshop that's coming up. It's Wednesday, April 24th at 6 p.m. So it's about a month from now. So just save that in your calendars. We don't have a sign up for that yet. That will start in the next couple of weeks. You'll see that change in our office. If you want to connect with us, Instagram, good. YouTube, if you're watching it, you probably already know. I'm so glad you guys were on here. I know I went about an hour. I know I said maybe 45 minutes, but if you have, let me look to see if there's any questions here. Okay. What if you already have been diagnosed with high blood pressure and heart disease? Can you turn back the disease? Marissa asked, and the answer is absolutely yes. I wish that heart disease and all of that stuff, usually it's been there for a while. And so it just takes time. And you are working on it and you are doing it. And so I want you to just continue the things that you are doing, continue to implement them, and your body is designed and made to heal. It's designed and made to heal. It just needs no interference and time. So you must be driving around 24. Yes, Phil. I think we were Chattanooga now? We what? We were. We just got on 75. I love it. We'll do. Good. Thanks, Carmen. Heart disease is reversible. Yes, great information. I love it. I appreciate and love you guys. Thanks for trucking to Atlanta with us. We absolutely love you. If you have any other questions, you know how to reach us. And we'll see you soon. Happy Easter.